Good morning, everybody. I think some people are still missing.
43 today? 43? 43?
43.
What do you like about the Sutta, Bhante? What do you like about the Sutta?
What do I like?
Yeah, what do you like about it?
Everything. Difficult to pick anything special because every step in the sutta is very important.
Do you have a favorite sutta?
Sacred sutras? Favorite? What can I say? Because I must give you the same answer. Because every discourse of the Buddha is my favorite. Because every discourse has a style and the Dhamma, very profound Dhamma. For example, if you take any discourse, first discourse in this book we did not even touch because it is very profound. It is so profound that that may be the only one discourse after delivering which the audience were not pleased. They were displeased. All other discourses at the end of all other discourses, they say excellent Venerable, say excellent Gautama and so forth. But at the end of that discourse, nobody was pleased. Even that is very important discourse. Sutta. First one in this book. You can read.
The root discourse?
Yeah. Root of all Dhammas.
The introduction says, it may be one of the most difficult to understand in the whole Pali Canon. If you are new to the Pali Canon, you might want to begin with Sutta number 2.
Right.
I read a commentary on this, it's the first one.
At the end of the discourse, that is what the Blessed One said. But those bhikkhus did not delight in the Blessed One's words. He delivered this discourse to bhikkhus, and these bhikkhus were not delighted. And even that discourse, although they were not delighted, is wonderful discourse. Okay, good morning. Now we want to start this Mahavedalla Sutta. You read now you have the list, what you call one-page summary. There you can see one book called One Aspect of Dhamma, Vedalla. No, it is not there, I think. Among the 9 aspects of Dhamma, Vedalla. Have you come across it?
I think you're...
The handout?
In the handout?
The handout is on the digital light.
Oh, okay. Anyway, on the first day when we... Huh?
This one, the outline of the vision of the...
Yeah, outline that I did... Is it there? 9 limbs of Dhamma. Is it? No, okay. I mentioned before the Buddha's teaching, Dhamma Vinaya was divided into 3 categories: Sutta, Vinaya, Abhidhamma. Before they made it into these 3 categories, there were 9 categories. They are called 9 limbs of Dhamma. That's called Navanga Sattu Sasana. One of them is Vedalla, Navanga Sattu Sasana. I mentioned it. First is Sutta, second is Geya, third is Vyakarana, fourth is Gatha, fifth is Udana, sixth is Iti Vuttaka, seventh is Jataka, eighth is Abhuta Dhamma, ninth is Vedalla. You may not remember them, but that is the list. How many of them have you written down? Sutta, Geya, yeah. Okay, Sutta, S-U-T-T-A, Sutta, Geya, G-E-Y-Y-A, Vyakarana, V-E-Y-Y-A, K-A-R-A-N-A, Gatha, G-A-T-H-A, long A, both are long A, Jataka, J-A-T-A-K-A, Udana, U-D-A-N-A, first A is long, Udana. Next is Iti Vuttaka, I-T-U-T-A-K-A, Vuttaka, Iti Vuttaka. Okay, that's how many are there?
6.
Dhammapada, Udana, Iti Vuttaka, Dhammapada, Jataka, 8. How many are there now? 7. Abhuta Dhamma 8. Abhuta Dhamma A, B, H, U, T, A. Dhamma, D, H, A, M, M, A. Abhuta Dhamma. The last is Vedalla. You can see its spelling on the title in this sutta. Mahavedalla. V-E-D-A-L-L-A. Vedalla. So, Vedalla is catechismic teaching, questions and answers. Although this discourse is called Vedalla, there are many discourses which also are catechismic, like even Sammaditya Sutta, catechismic. Bhikkhus asked Venerable Sariputta. Then Chula Vedalla, that of course is Vedalla, and Madhupindika, catechismic, Nattalakkhana, catechismic, and so forth. There are many discourses which are questions and answers. Venerable Sariputta and Kotthita, when they met together, they always had discussion. What do you call this? Ratha Vinita, Sutta, which is the basis of Visuddhimagga, also Vedalla. But only these two discourses are called Vedalla. but you can find many discourses where questions and answers are reported. Either the bhikkhus asked Buddha question, or Buddha asked bhikkhus questions, or bhikkhus themselves ask questions. There is one Chulavedalla, a man asked a question, a bhikkhuni, that is Visakha asked Arahant bhikkhuni Dhammadinna questions. And that is after this discourse you can find it. So anyway, this discourse is very important because it explains certain very important technical terms. That is why it is important. The discussion took place between Kotthita and Venerable Sariputta. Kotthita and Venerable Sariputta were wonderful expositors of the Dhamma. I think in one discourse, Venerable Kotthita asked Venerable Sariputta some questions. Venerable Sariputta answered the questions. At the end, Venerable Sariputta asked Kotthita, by the way, what is your name? This is the first time they met. They did not know each other's names. By the way, what is your name? He said, my name is Kotthita. Then Kotthita asked Venerable Sariputta, what is your name? People call me Sariputta. Then Kotthita said, my goodness, this is the Buddha's first disciple, chief disciple. Had I known this earlier, I would have not put myself into such an embarrassing position, asking you questions. And he said, I'm so excellent, I'm so pleased to hear your excellent exposition of the Dhamma. But both of them are equally good in explaining Dhamma. But this time, Kotthita asked Venerable Sariputta a very important question. He asked, one who is unwise, is said, friend, with reference to what is this said, one who is unwise? How do we understand unwise? What do we mean by unwise? Who is unwise? Normally when we use the word unwise. But in accordance with the Dhamma, when we try to explain unwise, we have to explain unwise in these terms. Venerable Sariputta answered, this is very important definition to remember. Unwise in the Buddhas we say, asevanacha balanang, panditanacha sevana, so in the Mangala Sutta, don't associate with fools, associate with the wise. So, unwise is in Buddhist term not what you call artist or Down syndrome or person totally stupid. Unwise in the Buddhist teaching is one who does not know the Four Noble Truths. There may be brilliant people who can discover all kind of things. They discover things to kill each other easily, using various type of technology, chemicals. These are marvelous discoveries. But in the Buddha's teaching, they are not wise people. So when the Sariputta explained the wise in terms of unwise in terms of not knowing the Four Noble Truths, the suffering, the cause of suffering, end of suffering, and the path leading to the end of suffering. And then Venerable Kotthita said, good, sadhu, sadhu. Whenever, even the Buddha, when somebody delivered the sermon, even the Buddha said, sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. His own disciple gives the sermon, and Buddha rejoiced his sermon. So Venerable Kotthita asked then, one who is wise, with reference to what is this said, one who is wise? Then Venerable Sariputta explained, the one who knows the Four Noble Truths. Suffering, origin of suffering, end of suffering, path leading to the end of suffering. This is the core of the Buddha's teaching. People say this is not the core, this is just basic primary things. There may be something very higher, greater than that. Sometimes when we start talking about Four Noble Truths, people sometimes say very naively, that is a kid's stuff. Let us talk about some deep Dhamma. Can you find anything deeper than this? If somebody says this is very simple, ordinary, that itself shows how ignorant that person is. Not recognizing the Four Noble Truths in its depth and width and profundity, if somebody says that this is the kid stuff, that shows how ignorant that person is. Because this is the Buddha's own discovery. He attained full enlightenment by discovering this. And therefore it is not a simple joke. That is the real base and core of the Buddha's teaching. Of course, this is not the time to go through the Four Noble Truths, but in brief, somebody who does not know the Four Noble Truths, unwise, we all can be unwise. Now, of course, fortunately, you have learned Dhamma for a long period of time, and you are getting close to be wise. I don't think we all are wise, completely wise. We will be totally, completely wise when we attain full enlightenment. Until then, we are just treading the path of wisdom, we can say. And then Venerable Kotthita asked, consciousness, he said, friend, with reference to what is consciousness? Venerable Sariputta explained consciousness in terms of cognitive factor. It cognizes, friend, that is why consciousness is said. What does it cognize? It cognizes the pleasant, painful, neither painful nor pleasant, is that all it cognizes? Consciousness cognizes only the feeling? The consciousness cognizes only the feeling? No, consciousness cognizes many things. But he gave only 3 examples. When you see somebody, you recognize that person. When you hear a sound, you recognize the sound. And so forth, through the eyes, ears, nose, tongue, body and mind, when certain things happen, we cognize them. Now, this is called vijnana in Pali. And so Venerable Sariputta explained consciousness in terms of perception. Cognizing is a function of perception. He explained the cognition, what you call it, consciousness in terms of cognition. Why? You cannot cognize anything without consciousness. Consciousness must be the basis of all cognitive factors. And not only cognition, the consciousness, but three factors must always be together in unison at one point for us to cognize something. What are three factors? Senses, sensory object, and consciousness. These three are called together contact. So contact will never arise without, there will be contact, but that is not qualified to be called contact without consciousness. So, Venerable Sariputta gave just an example of consciousness. Then it leads to another important factor. So Venerable Kotthita asked Venerable Sariputta, wisdom and consciousness, friend, are these states conjoined or disjoined? And is it possible to separate each of these states from the other in order to describe the difference between them? So Venerable Sariputta answered, wisdom and consciousness, friend, these states are conjoined, not disjoined. And it is impossible to separate each of these states from one another in order to describe the difference between them. For what one wisely understands, that one cognizes. And what one cognizes, that one wisely understands. Now, you asked what is the importance of this sutta. Every paragraph is important because these are the things that not too many people understand. We hear questions people asking very often whether the consciousness and wisdom, or consciousness and wisdom, what is the difference between these two? Because we have to have consciousness. Is wisdom in the consciousness, or consciousness is in wisdom? Can we have consciousness without wisdom? Can we have wisdom without consciousness? Normally people ask these questions. So the correct answer is these two are inseparable. Why inseparable? Because what one wisely understands, that one cognizes. What one cognizes, that one wisely understands. And therefore, that means in Pali words are very clear when we translate into English, and then only we get little confused. Pali word is pajanati and vijanati. Pajanati is understand, vijanati is cognize.
Bhante, is there a word for unwisely understand?
that is called ayoniso manasikara. Unwisely understanding, duppanya, sappanya, duppanya are the two terms we can use for both the right understanding and wrong understanding.
When you say consciousness and wisdom is inseparated, I mean, I cannot have wisdom without consciousness, but I can have consciousness without wisdom. I mean, I cannot perceive things without knowing them.
You can have, now in relation to consciousness and wisdom, Venerable Kotthita wanted to know, can these two separate? So Venerable Sariputta, they cannot be separated, because where there is consciousness, the seed of wisdom is there. Although we may not cultivate wisdom, but the seed of wisdom is there. Why? The word ñā, viññā, paññā. The word ñā comes from the same root. Viññā, paññā, saññā, these three all have ñā. Ñā means to know. In Abhidhamma, these three terms are explained with three similes. Saññā is when you take a piece of gold and present it, put it in front of a child will know the gold by its color. That's all child knows. Child does not know its value, its weight, what it is used for, where it came from, and so forth, and how many carats and so forth. The child does not know. Child only knows the color. Of course, child also can know various other things too, whether it is a toy or whether he can eat it or not, using other senses like contact, feeling, perceptions, thoughts. A child will know certain things about the piece of gold. For instance, if you have a ball, gold ball, and child would take, first thing the child would do is try to put it in the mouth and cannot eat. Then child will drop it, then it rolls. Then child knows that is a toy. So he starts playing with that. First the child touch it, contact, then the child put it in the mouth, then the child throw it and then roll it. So the child has perceptions, consciousness, contact, and cognition. His cognition, he recognizes it to be a toy, and so forth. All are superficial. That is saññā. Viññā is little higher. Suppose you give the same piece of gold to an average person, he would know this piece of gold, this is a piece of gold. The awareness of this metal as gold is a mature understanding. The child also knows the weight, the color, but the child does not know that this is gold. And the average person also knows that this has a market value. If he is little more familiar with the business, he would say, perhaps this may have higher value. Yesterday's gold market value was this much, today it is this much, tomorrow, so I must keep it. And so forth, he will have some other perceptions, way of thinking. If you give the same piece of gold to a metallurgist who knows everything about metal, gold, and he will tell you how long this piece of gold was in the ground, under what circumstances, under what temperature, in what area, how long it build up to be gold, and how many carats it has, what is the market value, what we can do with this piece of gold, earring or finger ring or suffering or whatever. Use this piece of gold for various things. So his knowledge of gold is almost perfect. And that is called panya. So, sanya, vinya, panya. And all these jnas has consciousness. Child has consciousness, adult has consciousness, the wise person has, the goldsmith has consciousness. And therefore, consciousness and wisdom cannot be separated. The root of it is the child that grew to be an old adult, and it is the adult that became a specialist, and in all these three stages of life, this particular mental state was there, and only a matter of developing, cultivating it to perfection. And therefore, this Venerable Sariputta's answer is a very profound answer, inseparable. It appears to be something that so-and-so has consciousness, I have wisdom. But it doesn't mean that the person who has consciousness does not have the potential of becoming wise like me. Not I am wise, I am just giving you example. So,
in the first paragraph about one who is wise, who wisely understands, Bhikkhu is translating pajanati as wisely understand, whereas elsewhere pajanati just means understand.
Yeah, vijanati is understand. Vijanati is wise, higher in degrees.
Isn't the point that in that paragraph that one has a direct understanding of the Four Noble Truth as it is?
Mm-hmm.
It seems confusing to me to add that you wisely understand it. It's what you understand directly. Like in anapanasati, you pajanati, you breathe in pajanati, you directly know what breathing in is.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Pajanati, wisely understanding. That's how he has translated, right?
Yes. Also that in 429.
That means the footnote, yes. Wisely understand. Let me see. Nevataham vikvedata. In the Four Noble Truths, I think the word pariññāta is completely penetrating knowledge. Abhiññāta, pariññāta, pahatabba, bhavitabba. These are the 4 words Buddha used for describing 4 Noble Truths. Abhiññāta is the pariññā is suffering, abhiññā is nibbana, pahatabba is cause of suffering, and bhavitabba is path leading to the end of suffering. So, pariññā, abhiññā are the 2 terms. Pariññā is penetrating direct knowledge. So, vijanati is reflective knowledge. You wisely reflective. So that is not a complete, final realization. I think his translation here seems to be correct. Mm-hmm.
Can we take this a little further into the area of wise attention? Suppose the child loses his gold toy. The man walks down the road and he sees this gold and he knows that it is gold. So he has consciousness of it. But then he may have wise attention and mindfulness. Then he may see the 3 marks and be careful that seeing the 3 marks, there is no greed and craving and attachment that arises in him. That I must have this, maybe it's not even his, and he desires to have it. If he doesn't have wise attention, so with wise attention, then he knows what it is, and he has insight into the 3 marks, he understands sila, and he tries to return it to the child or to the parent. Another person walks down the road. They see it. They know what it is. They know it's gold, so they have some wisdom. But without wise attention, there may be greed and craving that arise in them. So they may think, well, somebody has lost this, I'll just slip it into my pocket and walk away. So there's more wisdom in one case with wise attention. In the other case, there's cognition and little wisdom to know it's gold, but not enough wisdom to see the marks and prevent craving and grasping from arising. So where is the function of wise attention in true wisdom?
When you said this, it reminded me of an incident that Buddha had when he was walking. He saw a bundle of gold. He was walking with Venerable Ananda. Then Buddha asked Ananda, "Do you see that snake?" Ananda knew what Buddha meant. He said yes. He walked away. Then there was a poor farmer farming, cultivating his, ploughing his rice field, and he happened to be near this bundle of gold. And very soon, police came because the thieves had broken into a house and stole all these things. When they were running, with this, they saw the police, so they dropped it there and hid themselves. And then this poor farmer did not know, he was just doing his farming. The police came and caught this farmer. Went taken to the court, and then he was accused for stealing. And he said, I did not steal. And then he called he said that the Buddha is my witness. When he brought the Buddha as his witness, nobody would question that. And then finally King found out that this was a stolen property and this man happened to be there as an innocent person and so forth. And nearly he got into trouble because of this gold. So what wise person would do when he walks, if he sees a piece of gold, he says, well, this is not mine. It doesn't belong to me. I don't care. I don't have any use of this gold. Let it be so. I even don't want to pick it up, because if somebody caught me with it, I will be in trouble. Because somebody might have either deliberately left it, or somebody has forgotten it. I don't know the person. I don't take it. Or, if he is more compassionately wise person, he would say, well, this doesn't belong to me, let me take it to the police and deposit there, and let the police find out the owner and return it. He would not take it. So there can be two possibilities for the wise person. As you said, the unwise person would not use the possibilities and pocket it and get into trouble. Yeah. Anyway, we come to the next one, feeling. And at the end of every statement, Venerable Kotthita appreciated Venerable Sariputta's answer. He simply said, okay, let me ask you another question. He didn't say that. He said, excellent, sadhu, very good. Then he goes to the next question. Now, did we discuss this part? Okay. He asks, what is the difference between wisdom and consciousness? These states are conjoined, not disjoined. The difference, friend, between wisdom and consciousness, these states that are conjoined, not disjoined. This is this. Wisdom is to be developed, consciousness is to be fully understood. That is, wisdom we can develop, wisely understanding is wisdom, and cognizing is knowing. Now here, difference between wisdom and consciousness, wisdom is to be developed and consciousness is to be fully understood. That is the paragraph 6. And that is why Buddha used the word, Pali word is bhavetabba and parinyatabba. Viññānaṁ pariññayaṁ paññā bhavetabba. Here, viññāna, the one that is supposed to know fully well is vijnana, consciousness. It refers to put it in the same category as suffering, because for suffering also is to be fully understood. Suffering is to be understood, and wisdom is to be developed. The wisdom to be developed comes in the Four Noble Eightfold Path. Bhavetabba. So Buddha put two of the Four Noble Truths, two together. One is to be fully understood, and other is to be developed. To be fully understood is suffering, and that is in the category of vijnana, consciousness. And the other panya, wisdom, is in the category of Noble Eightfold Path, which is to be cultivated. Now, Buddha, when Buddha met Upaka, Upaka asked Buddha who he was. Then he said, I am Buddha who has understood what is to be understood and realized what is to be realized, developed what is to be developed, and therefore I am Buddha. There Buddha used these terms, pariññayam pariññātam bhāvetabbañca bhāvitam. There he referred to the Four Noble Truths. So here in these two terms we must understand the first, wisdom is to be developed, refers to the Noble Eightfold Path. Consciousness is to be fully understood, refers to the suffering. Then we go to the next one, feeling. So Venerable Mahavedalla asked, feeling is said. With reference to what is feeling said, is said. It feels, that is why feeling is said. What does it feel? It feels pleasure, pain, and neither pain nor pleasure. That's all we feel. Now here Buddha gave only 3 kind of feelings. But it includes all other 108 feelings that you find in Mahavedalla Sutta in the same book. You can refer to Mahavedalla Sutta in, if you have your book, the Pressing Pure Honey summary of Majjhima Nikaya, or this whole book. On the table of contents you can find a discourse called Mahavedalla Sutta. Mahavedalla Sutta, I don't remember the number, you have to look up. 59? Ah, very good. 59. Mahavedalla Sutta. Many kinds of feelings. In that discourse, Buddha gave that sometimes he talked about 3 kinds of feelings, sometimes 5 kinds of feelings, sometimes 6 kinds, and so forth. And he went on to 108 kinds of feelings. So, but he mentioned here only, Venerable Sariputta mentioned only 3 types of feelings: pleasant, unpleasant, and neither pleasant nor unpleasant. And since we feel, it is called feeling. Then he asked the next question. Okay. Perception is said. What is the perception? One perceives blue, yellow, red and white. Is that all we perceive? Only these 4 colors? We perceive much more than this. We perceive height, don't we? Height, shape, size, thin, thick, length, and so forth. We perceive many things through our senses. But Venerable Sariputta gave only 4 examples. Only color. We perceive light. We perceive darkness. And so forth. So many things we perceive. So we should not take this for granted that is all we perceive, 4 colors. We perceive many things. Instead of giving the examples of everything we perceive, he gave only these 4 colors. Then he asked, next question, feeling, perceptions and consciousness, friend, are these states conjoined or disjoined? And is it possible to separate each of these states from one another in order to describe the difference between them? When we talk about the 5 aggregates, we talk about the form, feeling, perceptions, volitional formations and consciousness and so forth. And even in that situation one can ask, feeling, perception, consciousness are separated or united, or they are in one unit. Venerable Sariputta's answer is, these states are conjoined, not disjoined, and it is impossible to separate each of these states from the others in order to describe the difference between them. For what one feels, that one perceives. For what one perceives, that one cognizes. And that is why these states are conjoined, not disjoined. And similarly, when we have volitional formations, can volitional formations separate from perception, consciousness, feelings? No. Because the volitional formation or thought always has some kind of feeling. We mentally perceive it. We have consciousness in thought. No thought can arise without consciousness, without feeling, without perception. And therefore they also are inseparable. So, yeah?
Is feeling a reaction to perception? Or is feeling inherent in all perception? Or, that's not but is it, do you react to perception with feeling, or is feeling there before perception? Or, I don't know.
We react depending on the feeling. When we feel pleasant, then our reaction will be pleasant. If we feel unpleasant, then our reaction will be unpleasant. It happens automatically, unless we have mindful reflection. Yoniso Manasikara. If you have mindful reflection, as soon as unpleasant sensation arises, we immediately become mindful of the fact that even this unpleasant sensation is impermanent. We would not emotionally react to it. When the pleasant sensation arises, we immediately recognize it impermanent, and therefore we will not become attached to it. So, rejection and attachment are the reactions to the present unpleasant and pleasant sensations. It happens automatically in the undeveloped state of mind. For example, a child, animal, even human beings who have not developed their mind, then the reaction is automatic. But one who has developed his or her mind, then even when the reaction is going to take place, one becomes immediately as a habit. This is what Buddha called wholesome habit, kusala sila. Mindful reflection we develop, build up over and over again, and then that will be the first to arise in our mind when certain things happen, when certain sensation arises. The first thing that arises in our mind after the arising of the sensation would be mindful reflection. Why? That is what we have been cultivating as a habit. If we have been cultivating unmindful reflection, that is the first thing that arises when feeling arises. And therefore, the constant practice of mindful reflection, Yoniso Manasikara, is a very handy tool to handle any situation. Yeah.
When the Buddha uses feeling, another way to translate it as emotion? Or is that wrong?
Feeling is emotion. Now,
it's not sensation.
Now this is the difference in Western psychological terms and Buddhist terms. In the Buddhist terms, we use the word feeling for sensation as well as emotional feeling as well as sensation. But when we go into detail, we have sukha, dukkha, adukkha, masukha, and the somanasa, domanasa and upekka. Now when we go to somanasa, domanasa, upekka, then it becomes mental factors and emotional. Sukha, dukkha, adukkha, masukha are sensations. So, but without going into these details, when we talk about the five aggregates, for example, we simply say Vedana. It includes both sensations and feelings, emotions.
And wise reflection on all of that is that it is impermanent.
Right. Then, knowable my mind alone. We go to the paragraph 10. Friend, what can be known by purified mind consciousness, released from the five faculties? So that is the Kotthita's question. Venerable Sariputta says, friend, by purified mind consciousness released from the five faculties, the